Welcome to All Home Care Matters, the show where we discuss all things home care, with discussions on important age-related matters and topics. Brought to you by Enriched Life Home Care Services, the #1 rated home care provider in Michigan by Top Rated Local.
Hello, and welcome back to All Home Care Matters. If this is your first time visiting us here at the show, we want to say thank you for taking time out to be with us today. We appreciate how valuable everyone's time is, and that's why we try and make each episode here at All Home Care Matters something that will hopefully matter to you. Today, I am honored to welcome a remarkable guest and friend, Todd TJ Keitz, the founder of My Care Friends. Welcome, Todd. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Lance.
It's our pleasure. Our pleasure, Todd. So I introduced you as the founder/creator of My Care Friends. For our viewers and listeners, why don't you take a moment and just explain what My Care Friends is all about?
Yeah, sure. So My Care Friends was born out of the experiences I've had with most recently my parents since 2018, both fight life-threatening diseases, and previous experience I've had with my uncle, my sister, and my grandparents. It's a community, an online community, number one, for connecting caregivers and advocates, where caregivers and patient advocates can go on, connect with each other, share, and support each other. The other part of it is that it is a community that is also has an offline presence, where we're creating programming that will help advocates, caregivers, also families, better understand the healthcare system in the U.S. and be able to help each other.
Right. And was that all based off of your personal experience with your parents?
Let's call that was the catalyst for My Care Friends. Over decades, I've worked with healthcare industry, both providers, pharmaceutical industry, medical device companies. And I saw a lot of the challenges that caregivers and advocates had, even going back 20, 30 years. And so my parents getting sick and being in the hospital, I was just talking with a friend about this yesterday. I've probably been to Cleveland Clinic in Florida with my parents over the past 5 years, 400 or 500 times.
Wow. It's a lot. It's a lot. So then, Todd, what is your personal ethos and its origins? You know, how have you taken that and kind of integrated it into your life, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's threefold. They all tied together. So one was very much influenced by my family. Bless you. One very much influenced by my family and my grandparents. They were all about kindness and authenticity and paying things forward. And so that all played into things that I've done over the years, volunteering over the years and so forth.
And you're heavily involved in, nonprofits and causes. What are the causes and or nonprofits that have been most important to you over the years that you've been actively involved in?
Yeah, I love talking about this. It's one of the things that brings a smile to me and it warms my heart. Earlier in my life and early in my professional life, I volunteered for Special Olympics, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Junior Achievement, where I'd go into inner city schools and teach. And that meant a lot. And then over the years, other organizations, and most recently, I am on the National Advisory Council for the American Association of Caregiving Youth, which is based here, coincidentally, in South Florida. And I love working with that organization because caregiving youth is one of those things that's not often thought about. There are well over 5.4 million caregiving youth in this country, and it's significantly more. And they don't have what we would call a typical, if there is such a thing, typical childhood. They often miss school. They don't have the opportunity to socialize with friends or play after school sports or do shows, plays, and so forth. So I love being there with them. Connie Siskowski is the founder of that. She was a CNN hero back in 2012. And so fabulous organization. And then the other organization, which is equally fabulous, which is about health literacy and helping families, not just caregivers and advocates, but patients and families overall, understand, number one, patients have rights, and what are those rights, and how should they be speaking with doctors and so forth. And that organization is called Say Ah, which is just a great organization for such an endeavor.
Wonderful. So I'm going to pick your brain for a moment and ask you if you could pick just one challenging experience from early in your business career or even maybe your personal life that helped shape just one aspect of who you are, your personality, that you would credit to keys to your success as either a caregiver, a patient advocate, or just life. What would that be?
Yeah, great question. So there's one experience that comes to mind. Obviously, we all have hundreds and thousands of experiences, but the one that stays with me that comes out is early in my career, my first job out of school, I worked for a company called US Healthcare, which was ultimately bought by Aetna. It was an HMO, and I had moved from their headquarters in the Philadelphia area up to the Boston market when they started there, and I was responsible for bringing in new business. It was my first time doing that, and there was this one company that just wouldn't say yes. And so when the no happens, I learned early on, the no means the sale that process then begins. So I continued to follow up and follow up and follow up. It took about 9 months and then eventually got the sale. And I asked him, ultimately, I said, what was it that had you ultimately buy? And he said, there were two things, Todd. He said, your perseverance really impressed me. He said, and you were relatable. And so being relatable really is what it's all about.
Right. And so in addition, Todd, to your experience, the 500 trips to the Cleveland Clinic there in Ohio with your mom and dad, in addition to that direct caregiving, patient advocacy journey with your parents, how did that kind of dovetail and lead you to create My Care Friends?
Yeah, that journey is, I can't say when I first set out that My Care Friends was top of mind. I knew I wanted to reach the masses. I wanted to reach as many people as possible. And fortunately, I had experience with that working for US Healthcare and other companies. So I started out by simply doing a blog called One Day, One Week, which was a cathartic experience, just sharing everything that I had been through. And it's interesting when I go back and read some of that now, and it really shared a lot.
Yeah.
But I quickly knew I wanted to talk with people. So like you, with All Home Care Matters, I created Caregiving Insights, the podcast. But again, it wasn't reaching the masses or the platform that I wanted. And so that's when My Care Friends came to being. And I went to a friend here in Florida and I said, hey, are you interested? This is what's going on. Are you interested in helping? And she said, yes. And we started sort of on the edge of a desk, so to speak. And we were creating a platform, and then it just started to pick up speed as time went on. And here we are.
Why don't you walk our viewers and listeners through kind of what the experience of My Care Friends is like? So it's a platform. Would you associate it with like a resource directory, with a social media platform? Like how do you identify or label My Care Friends, if there is a label?
Yeah, there are multiple labels these days for things, as we know. So it's an online community. That's how it started. So there's the online community aspect where there are groups and forums on, right now we're at about 70 different group topics. And we can expand those, and individuals can come in, they can communicate with each other, a la Facebook, and communicate with each other in these groups about a topic, whether it's a caregiving topic, could be activities of daily living, it could be healthcare related, it could be about a disease like scleroderma, which my mom has, or cancer, which my dad has. But it could be fun topics as well, because we don't want it to be just a heavy experience for for members. And oh, by the way, it's a free membership, so anybody can join for free. So the light topics could be sports, it could be art, it could be dance, because then people can communicate with people who are in their own shoes, and they're seen, they're heard, they're understood and validated. And that's really what we wanted. Also, there's news that we pull in, there are news feeds, there's online events that are external. We will be doing our own starting in 2024. We have a whole educational series. I'm really excited to share right now. We finalized our collaboration with Dr. Raj Dasgupta, based out of California. He's a quadruple board certified physician. By the time this is posted, our first event with him will have happened. It's tomorrow, the 29th of November on sleep. But we have a number of different things we're doing. He's part of our National Advisory Council, and we've got a lot of offline programming as well. So there's a lot I could talk about. It could take me a long time.
That's wonderful. So let's talk about the journey, though, because I think with any business, with any startup, with any idea, you start with that idea or the concept. What's the journey been like creating My Care Friends and getting it to where it's at today?
Yeah. So fortunately, I have a lot of experience, a lot of background working with startups, but also having co-founded a previous company and be CEO, raised capital, got a patent on software process. So I know the ups and downs, and there are plenty, as you know. So the process, as soon as my mom, after her 17 hospitalizations in 22 months, and my dad's 2 rounds of chemo and 2 rounds of radiation, miraculously, they both got to a stable level. I was able to start moving My Care Friends forward. So I pulled in folks that I've known for decades to help out. They love what the premise is about. I've been able to build a team out we have 5 people now, including our newest, Katie in Denver, who's our director of community engagement. The National Advisory Council, I've been able to pull in people there who have been really important, and new ones that I've met along the way. So it's tapping into those resources. And I must give a shout out also to my attorney, who's been an attorney with me for over a decade, and with the previous company, Stock for Good. So I'm grateful to Bill Uchimoto as well.
Well, hello, Bill.
Yeah, so it's been an up and down all around. But right now we're just so excited because they're just every day it feels like something great's happening for us.
That's wonderful. Todd, would you say that things happened easier than you had anticipated? Or I know there's obstacles and probably some bumps in the road, but overall, would you say it was an easier process to getting where you are today? Or was there things that were unexpected or that you didn't plan for?
Yeah, there are always things that you don't plan for. There are always things that are unexpected when you go into business. When you have a startup and you have big goals, big dreams. I don't know if I have one particular one that stands out in terms of it. There's obstacles when you have things planned that don't go your way. It could be a key meeting that you were having and it got delayed.
Right.
Maybe just perhaps like last week when you and I were sick.
Right.
And then perhaps there's a different meeting that doesn't get to have that next meeting too soon because everybody's schedules are challenging. But overall, once we've gotten rolling and once we've launched, I've been so incredibly excited about what's been happening every week. So I can't say. I always look at the positive.
Absolutely. Would you say that any of your previous professional or personal experiences were particularly helpful during the development and launch of My Care Friends?
Yeah, no question about it. I would. So Stock for Good, which was the previous startup, stands out because I got to do a technology startup. So, and as a CEO, you're involved, you learning everything. And so whether you have your team of developers over here, you have your marketing group over here, et cetera, you're raising capital, you're making high level connections. I knew some of the places not to step that perhaps I stepped that first time when I was doing that. And I knew what to do, where to go for resources. And, I continually learn. I'll never say I know it all because I always want to learn. But yes, Stock for Good was a big help.
Wonderful. How are you going to look back and define, or what is your expectation to define My Care Friends as a success? What does success look like for you?
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple of parts to that answer. One is, first and foremost, providing a safe space for thousands, hopefully millions of caregivers and advocates over time. I know this takes time to grow. It doesn't happen overnight. And it's also at a higher level, it's about creating an awareness to support those caregivers and advocates and vis-a-vis their loved ones. And that's in part through our involvement with our National Advisory Council. It's in part through various educational programs we'll be doing. And then bottom line, being a trusted source for helpful information.
What, when you were creating My Care Friends, or even before My Care Friends were even a thought, were there any particular platforms or resources that you found particularly helpful or inspirational for you during your care journey with your mom and dad?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that. The one that comes to mind, and it is not a direct route to this, but it's something that's been really helpful for me along my journey in life. It's called Insight Timer. Insight Timer is a mindfulness app. It's meditation, and it's been really helpful for me, especially during difficult times with my parents. For years where I was 24/7 caregiver, and I had maybe 5 minutes to myself before I just crashed. Mm-hmm. That was helpful. So that was one in terms of just personally. But everything I've seen out there, I like to learn from everything, and you take what you believe is good and can work for you in recreating it. So I've learned from everything I've used, every platform, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, you name it. You look at it, and everybody has their idea of what's good and what will work. And so I've tried to apply that to My Care Friends.
Do you have any personal hobbies or things that are of interest when you're not developing platforms and companies?
I do. The three that stand out are, one is at the top of the list, which is hiking.
Okay.
I love hiking. I love hiking in mountains. I love getting out to Colorado. One of my favorite places to just go get into the Rocky Mountains and hike.
You're in Florida now, correct?
I'm in Florida. Everything's flat here.
Yeah.
So hiking to me here is more walking. Perhaps brisk walking, but it's not the kind of hiking I'm thinking of. But I love getting out west, and having lived out in California for many years, walking out my door and being in the mountains, it's just something that I love. And then music. I love music of all different genres. So I'm constantly listening to music. Music is inspiring to me. And it's just a great part of my life. And then baking and cooking.
Really?
Yeah. I love it. It enables me to, hiking, you're getting a great workout. Music, you're taking it in. Baking and cooking, it's creative. You get this creative outlet. Yeah.
Let me ask you too, going back to your mindful app that you were, that really was helpful to you. Are you incorporating any aspect of something like that into My Care Friends platform?
I love that question. The answer is yes, in 2024.
Wonderful. Now, I want to kind of talk a little bit more about My Care Friends for a few moments, and we're going to have links up on the screen as well as in the show notes and everything. But for somebody who is just starting out on their caregiving journey, it is unbelievably overwhelming because you're, maybe not so much 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, but now I feel like, caregivers are just so overwhelmed and inundated with all these choices, all these options, all these resources. Some are good, some I would say run away from. What is your advice? What is, Todd's top 3, top 5, maybe you have a top 10 for somebody just starting out on this care journey? What would you recommend to them?
Yeah. Another great question. Having been in and around healthcare prior to this caregiving journey, I learned a lot, but you like anything, you don't learn fully until you're walking in those shoes. And fortunately, I was able to draw upon a lot of my experience, but there's a lot that I had to learn. And part of that is make sure you're surrounding yourself with people, good people that you can tap into, either for just emotional support or for support in terms of healthcare. Finding those people, it's about networking.
Right.
Network. Don't be afraid to. This is a key one. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I know a lot of people are proud and they don't want to bother people, but in my experience, when you ask people for help, even people you may not know real well, I'm going to say 99+% of the time, they're willing to help in some way.
Right.
And I love that. It shows the human spirit and that we really are all connected, aside from all the other craziness that goes on in our world and our lives in our country. I love that. And then I would say, find time for yourself some way, somehow. You need the break. I mean, I burned out twice in the first 3 years, and you don't want to get to that point. And perhaps you don't learn until you do burn out, but try not to. And that's about being able to build a team around you. So I have built a team. So when I travel, I line up the team and I have everybody ready and I let doctors know. And that's another thing. Co-create the experience with your physicians. It's important to know your rights, and as a caregiver advocate, but know the patient's Bill of Rights. And if you go onto the AHA, the American Hospital Association, you can read the General Bill of Rights. Healthcare organizations, providers, whether it's a Cleveland Clinic here in Florida or a Mayo Clinic in Minnesota or wherever, there's a Bill of Rights, and there you have rights of what you can ask for, what you can expect. And if you're not getting them, talk to the ombudsman person at that facility. And I have done that because it's important. But I think it's one thing that I've really also learned, if that's the right word, is that I believe that all healthcare providers are in it for the goodness. They're there to help people. And it's important to understand that, and important to understand they're often really overworked and they're overstressed.
And understaffed.
And exactly. That was exactly the next word. They're understaffed and they don't have time. Because I hear so often, oh, you only got to spend 10 minutes with me or 5 minutes with me, or I never got a response. Try not to take it personally, because that only hinders your ability to move things forward. Just understand that they're stressed. Ask for help, try to get to an assistant, try to get to a nurse, because nurses are often much more accessible.
Right.
And then they can help you get to the doctor. Also, ask the facility where you're getting care, depending upon your situation, if it's cancer, or if, like my mom who has systemic scleroderma, who has multiple comorbidities, ask them if they offer a clinical care manager, because they might not know that you need this help and they have somebody internally who can help. So my mom has a clinical care manager who checks in once a month and is there whenever we need that person.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I just want to go back real quickly to my Care Friends again. And since you've launched it now, when was it officially launched?
August 28th, 2023.
Wonderful. So it's 7 years old, give or take.
No.
Or I mean, 7 months, 7 months old.
It's 3 months old.
Oh, yeah, August. I'm thinking April. My apologies. Fuzzy math. What's been some of the feedback you've received from users?
Yeah, we always want feedback from users. It's important to make sure your product is providing what they need.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, excitement. This is great. This is phenomenal. We haven't seen something like this. We need something like this. And which we love hearing. And then our next question is, how can we make it better?
Right.
And so there's different things that they provided in terms of the user experience that we've been working on to make it better. And we do that. As we hear it, we do that.
Was there feedback of somebody making a suggestion that you and your team had not thought about that you implemented?
Yeah, there was one. So when there were two, one when somebody said, I see when I'm logged in that it says the ultimate caregiver and advocacy community. But before I'm logged in, it doesn't say that.
Mm.
Like, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, we're going a million miles a minute doing so many different things. And we're like, yeah, okay. So we added that before the login. So that was a key one. And then another one was, it's a free service. And although we've received incredible response and incredible feedback about how beautiful the site is and easy to navigate it is, a couple people said, nowhere does it say it's free, other than if you dig into it and you go into certain pages. So we've changed that, and now it says.
Oh, that's wonderful. Todd, last question. I just want to thank you so much for your time and your advocacy and importantly, your friendship as well. We've come to know each other fairly well over the past few months. And we're always looking for people who really have a heart for supporting and helping caregivers and others. I tend to find that, and I don't want to generalize, but typically, more times than not, it's usually somebody that's gone through the experience who can relate to both sides of it, which you and I both have. What would you tell me if we didn't talk for the next 5 years and we run into each other somewhere on a sunny beach in Florida, because it's like 15 degrees here in Michigan today, and I say, how is my care friends doing? Where's my care friends at in the next 5 years? What is your hope?
Yeah, so I'll go back to how I define success.
Okay.
I'll add one piece to it. So one is providing that safe space at that point, hopefully for millions of caregivers and advocates. And hopefully that is also not just in the US at that point. Hopefully that is around the world. And then hopefully we've just made a difference in those lives. We've enabled them to take, whether it's one kernel of information that we've provided or that they've learned from the platform, whether it's from the online platform or from our programming, and that's helped them with their loved ones. I mean, hopefully it's dozens and dozens and hundreds, but if each can help one, then that's great.
And correct me if I'm wrong, is there an app at this time for my care friends?
I'm glad you asked that. There is not an app right now, but we are already in conversations with potential partners for version 2. And that is one of the things we're in discussions about.
That's fantastic. And I just want to stress, as you have several times, to our viewers and listeners, this is a free resource. This isn't signing up for a monthly payment, an annual bill. This is completely free to anyone and everyone that would like to benefit from this community, correct?
It is. And I want to just, one more thing to it is free for everybody. I want to add one thing. Although there is no app per se, it's not a downloadable app, the way it's a responsive website. So when you go on to an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, it shows up really nicely.
It's mobile friendly and tablet friendly. Yeah,
exactly.
That's wonderful. Well, Todd, thank you so very much for your time today. And, we just appreciate all the work you're doing on behalf of caregivers and these families, because we know, both of us, that it's very much needed. And we hope to have you back on again before 5 years.
I hope so too, Lance. Thank you so much. And I appreciate, our friendship. And
we got a great t-shirt here.
All right.
Yep. Connect, share, and support. And
awesome.
Got some really nice pink hats. So we're big supporters of you, and we just appreciate it. And anytime we can help, we're here for you.
That's likewise. Anytime we can help you guys, you just let us know.
All right. Thank you so much, Todd. Have a great day.
You too, Lance. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us today here at All Home Care Matters. All Home Care Matters is here to help families as they navigate these long-term care issues. We invite you to visit us at allhomecarematters.com, where there's a private, secure, fillable form where you can give us feedback, show ideas, or if you have questions. Every form is read and responded to. And remember, you can listen to the show on any of your favorite podcast streaming platforms or watch the show on our official YouTube channel. Just make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. We'd also like to say thank you again to our friend Todd Keitz of My Care Friends for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time here at All Home Care Matters.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you joining us again on another episode of All Home Care Matters. To learn more about the show and to connect with us, visit us at allhomecarematters.com.